We're talking about adverbs other than very. Everybody knows the word very. We can use that. It's called an intensifier, and it makes things stronger, right? And what we can do is we can put an adverb and an adjective together to describe something in a strong way. And everybody knows the word very, but it's kind of boring. Americans don't actually use the word very often. So the word very is okay, but it's overused. So a lot of my students use it too much. It's overused. And so if you say, oh, I am very tired, it doesn't sound very natural. I keep using very now too, because I think it's in my head. So I'm very tired. It's very cold today. He is very smart. All of these are okay, but we don't want to use the same word again and again and again. And it's not supernatural because Americans don't use very this often. We use other words instead. So today we're going to take a look at some really common words that you can use instead of very, okay? And like I said before, if you want to answer a question of the week, you can interrupt me, send me a message at Kyle Moai, okay? So, you know very. What's a better word to use than very? Well, I would recommend you use the word really. Really should be your go-to. Americans don't use the word very too often. We use the word really all the time. And it should be your go-to, and you should stick to this one if you're ever not sure what to say. So you can use the word really in two different ways. Most of what we're going to talk about is adverb plus adjective. So an adverb describes a describing word, and an adjective describes a thing. Okay? So far, The Last of Us has been really amazing. So this is a TV show that I've been really enjoying. And so far, The Last of Us has been really amazing. So here we have the adjective amazing. Oh, my mouse is going crazy. Amazing is describing it, saying it's really, really good. But is it just amazing? No, it's very amazing. Very doesn't sound very natural. So use really instead. So it's really amazing. It sounds more natural. Now, really can be used another way too. You can say adverb plus verb. And this is why really should be your go-to. You can stick to using this all the time. So you could say, I really want to see what happens next. So want is our verb, that's our action, and I really want to see what happens next. So this is probably the most common one of these words in American English. We use the word really a lot more than the word very. So I would say you should use this. And also, it's more versatile. Versatile means you can use it in many different ways. Because you can say really amazing. You could also say very amazing, but that doesn't sound supernatural. You could also use really to say, I really want to see something, or I really like something. But you can't do that with very. You can't say I very like. That's weird. It's wrong. But really can be used for both. Really amazing, really want, really like. So if you're ever not sure what to say, stick with really. It's a good choice, okay? So really is your go-to. Let's say you want to be a little more fun, a little more light. You can use the word super. Super is another word that means very, but it's a little bit more fun. It's a little more happy sounding. It sounds energetic and I don't know, it just sounds nice. It has a good, fun sound to it. So if you want to say very, but want to sound a little more fun, use super. So here's another movie that I've seen called Palm Springs. And you can say, the movie Palm Springs was super funny. So like I said, super sounds kind of fun, but it means very. Very funny would be okay, but super funny just sounds better. Okay? And then another example, the story of Palm Springs is super clever. So this is a movie about a guy who gets trapped in a time loop. A time loop. That means he is living the same day again and again and again and again. But there are other movies like that with time loops, but this one's really funny and it's pretty clever. I won't tell you too much, but I recommend the movie Palm Springs. It's quite good. And the story is super clever. Clever means it's smart and they have interesting ideas. But instead of saying very clever, you can say, oh, it's super clever. And it sounds a little more fun. Okay? So we add very is okay, but really is very common. Super sounds a little bit more fun and a little bit light. Like not so serious. Okay, what else do we have? Well, we can take words and add ly. And so if you can take a positive word meaning like a word that has good feelings, and you can add ly, and then it just kind of means very. Okay? So something that's good is if something's true. Like if it's a true story, that means it's real. And if we add ly, true plus ly becomes truly. And you can use truly to mean very. So we take that positive word, add ly. Truly and really are kind of the same, right? Really, truly. Okay? So I might say Kyoto is a truly incredible city. So incredible means it's good. Truly incredible means it's really, really good. Okay? So you can use truly, this positive word, just to mean very and make it sound even nicer. Okay? Now, I've been to Kyoto before and I loved it. It's a beautiful city. Have you ever been there before? I think it's truly incredible. You can see temples, you can see beautiful markets, and you can see people walking around in kimonos. A kimono is what this is called. Unless that's well, in the summertime, there's a different name. I think it's a yukata, is the summer dress. But let's call it a kimono. That's the usual word. So, another positive word. We can take the word honest. Honest means you tell the truth, right? So it's another good thing. So take honest and add ly, and that becomes honestly. And you can use honestly just like the word very. Okay? So I've been to Italy before. I went to Rome, and I might say, visiting the Colosseum in Rome is honestly breathtaking. So this is a little tricky, right? So this place, this big giant building is called the Colosseum. That's where thousands of years ago, people would fight in there, people would watch shows, and lots of interesting stuff would happen. That's called the Colosseum. And this place is breathtaking. What does it mean if something is breathtaking? Well, you can imagine you see this place and it takes your breath. You go, it takes your breath away. If something's breathtaking, it's like amazing, surprising, shocking, all of those things. And putting honestly just makes it very, very breathtaking. But very sounds boring. So using a nicer, more interesting word. visiting the Colosseum in Rome is honestly breathtaking. Okay? So this word basically means very in this sentence. Okay? But it just sounds nicer. Okay? What's another positive word that we can take and add ly to? Well, we talked about how Kyoto is truly incredible. We can take the word incredible, turn this into very also. So incredible plus ly becomes incredibly. So here's a picture of Taroko Gorge in Hualien. Taroko Gorge is this place with there are mountains on the sides, rivers in the middle, and that's called Taroko Gorge. I've been there a few times, and it's awesome. So I wrote, Taroko Gorge in Hualien is incredibly beautiful. So it's beautiful, of course, but just saying beautiful is not enough. It's very beautiful. Okay, but the word very is kind of boring, right? And incredible means super, super good. And so we want to make it super strong. We can say it's incredibly beautiful. So what you can do is take a lot of different positive words and just stick ly on the end, and it works just like the word very. Okay? And so what are some other words that mean something good that we could do this with? Well, let's think of a couple. Let's say amazing. Nope, I gotta fix my sizes. Amazing. Well, that becomes amazingly, right? That my vacation was amazingly good. Amazing means it's like wow, makes you say wow and you're shocked, right? So you could say it's amazingly good. Take a good word, add ly, and then it's kind of like a strong very. What's another word like this? Well, you could say spectacular. Spectacular. Yeah, spectacularly. Add ly, and it becomes like a strong very. The pizza was spectacularly delicious. That sounds a little bit intense, but it's pretty good. Okay? What else? What's another word for really, really good? Anything with an F? Fantastic. How about that? Well, you can add ly, but you have to add a couple more letters. Fantastically good. Something like that. That's a little bit boring. Like we said before, very is boring. The word good is boring too. We could think of other things too. And so there are lots of these out there. There are so many words where you take a positive word and add ly, and you get a word that's kind of like very. Okay? One thing you can do if you want to figure out what these go with, there's sometimes words go well with other words. And so you could use this website, NetSpeak, to check. Like let's say we have the word incredibly. I can put in incredibly, and what I can put after it, I can put a question mark, and it shows me what it often goes with. So this website, they search all over the internet, and I think maybe websites and books and all kinds of stuff. And it will give you a count of some of the most common words and phrases. So we have incredibly, and I put a question mark, and that means any word can go after incredibly. So the most common is incredibly easy. So this will show you what words and phrases are pretty common. Like, oh, I'm doing my work, and oh wow, this is incredibly easy. Okay? Or incredibly low. The price was incredibly low. Maybe it's very, very cheap. Or, incredibly powerful. That country is incredibly powerful. They have a big army or something. And then we can change to another one of our words, amazingly, right? So what's common? amazingly, then a comma. Amazingly enough is, that works too. But that's usually a different situation. But amazingly well. He did his work amazingly well. Amazingly good. That food tastes amazingly good. Okay? And what else do we say? Spectacularly. Spectacularly. Oh my God. I'm having trouble with that too. So spectacularly, you can see it's not as common. There are less people using it. But then, spectacularly successful. That's an interesting one to be the most common. So I would recommend you can use this website to try to see what words go together. Okay? So if you ever have something like a word that, anything, you have words that you want to put together. It's like, okay, when do we usually put these together? What does it go with? You can try using NetSpeak for something like this. Okay? So, we were talking about positive words plus ly. Duffy's posting about Japanese clothing in our chat. Well, thank you. The Kyoto. This thing's called a kimono. In the summer dress is called a yukata. I think yukata. But the one in the middle, I'm not... Wahuku? I don't know what that is. But in English, we use the words kimono and yukata. Most people know kimono, and then people who know some things about Japan might know yukata. But thank you for looking that up. And Duffy says, spectacularly is hard. Yes, that's a hard word. Well, start with spectacular. Spectacular. So 4 letters, spectacular. Then add ly at the end. Spectacularly. Okay? Whew. That's a hard one. Spectacularly. Blah. Hard for me to say too. So just take your time. If it's hard to say, we have a lot of other words we can use, right? So don't worry about that one. Okay. Now we talked about positive words. We have incredible, amazing, spectacular, fantastic. You can do the same thing with negative words. And it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just still means very. All of these things, even if it's a good word or a bad word, it just means very. But it kind of gives you a certain feeling. It's very, but maybe some of that positive or negative shows up in the ideas. Okay? Here, we take the word ridiculous. Ridiculous is, it's crazy. You don't understand it. It's stupid. So it's ridiculous, add ly, that becomes ridiculously. Ridiculously. So another 5-syllable word. Ridiculously. Ridiculously. So a little bit tricky, but this is a pretty common word. All of these words here, well, most of the words we're talking about today are pretty common. I'd say maybe spectacularly is probably the least common we're going to talk about. Okay, so this kind of sandwich is something that I love and something you can't really get in Taiwan, or it's hard to find. So I might say this restaurant's buffalo chicken sandwich is ridiculously good. It's so good that it's ridiculous. Ridiculously just means very, very, very good. But it's so good you think, this is crazy. Okay? So buffalo chicken sandwich, it's fried chicken with a spicy sauce on it. And usually it has some blue cheese dressing. You can't see it here though. There are only a few places in Taiwan that sell this kind of sandwich. So try it if you ever see it. This restaurant's buffalo chicken sandwich is ridiculously good. So we take a negative word, add ly, and then it just means very. It's very, very, very good. Okay? Another one is insane. Insane means totally crazy. Like this person can't control their brain. They're insane. So you add ly and you get insanely. And again, that just means very, 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 but more interesting, right? And so imagine you go to this restaurant and you look at the menu and you go, oh my God, I can't eat here. You might say, can we choose a different restaurant? This place is insanely overpriced. Overpriced means too expensive. So if it's insanely overpriced, it's so expensive that you think it's too crazy. It's out of control. Okay? So this place is insanely overpriced. And like I said before, we're using a negative word, insane. So it kind of brings in a little bit of those bad feelings. A little bit. It doesn't have to be, but it can. So like, it's not just overpriced, it's insanely overpriced. You must be crazy if you think I'm going to pay $4,000 for this little piece of food, right? Okay. So one more negative is absurd. This is a good word. This is a word I like to use. It just means it's stupid, it's dumb, it's silly, I don't get it. So absurd is a bad thing. Like, oh, geez, that's crazy. Well, I just said that's crazy for all three of these, right? Absurd is kind of like stupid, okay? So if something's absurdly, that means very, but in a way that like, that's so dumb that it's crazy. Oh, again, there's crazy again. So, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to have that negative feeling. It just means very. So I went to my friend's wedding in Greece, and it was on this beautiful island. And I might say their wedding in Greece was absurdly romantic. It's so romantic that, oh my God, it's just absurd. But here, this just means very. And like I said, it doesn't have to have the bad feelings in there. It's not negative, but it's just very, very, very romantic. It was absurdly romantic. Okay? Now, let's do net speak one more time for these guys. Okay? We have ridiculously, right? Ridiculously. Oh, low again. Ridiculously low. And then, or ridiculously small. What you can do, you can also click these and see some example sentences. Here's at the ridiculously low price of 15 pence. That's from England. Let's see. Companies will give you a ridiculously low offer. So if the price is really, really slow, really, really small, and you go, what the heck, that's crazy, you could say ridiculously low. Okana says, thanks, Kyle, for teaching us how to pronounce spectacularly. You're welcome. That's a hard one for me, too. Ridiculously is very hard, too. All of these words that are like 5 syllables are tricky. So just take your time. Ridiculously. And then slowly speed it up. Ridiculously, ridiculously, ridiculously. It's hard for me too, so don't worry. And the spelling can be really tricky too. I have trouble, when it's a long, long word, you want to sound it out. Ridiculously, as you write it. Okay, what else do we have? We have ridiculously, insanely. So let's see what's common for insanely. Insanely great. Ooh, insanely jealous. Okay, so maybe if someone's husband is talking to someone else at work, then they get insanely jealous. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe he's talking to her. Something like that, okay? Or insanely hot. Maybe that pepper that you ate was so spicy that it's insanely hot. Or insanely popular. That's pretty good. So again, NetSpeak is a good one to show what is a common use for these words, okay? And then we had absurdly. Absurdly. Absurdly low, absurdly high. Kind of like what we saw with ridiculously. Absurdly low prices. You must be crazy to make it so cheap. Or absurdly high price. You must be crazy if you think I'm going to pay that much. Or absurdly small. You're giving me such a small bit of food that's absurdly small. Okay? So all these are pretty good. So yeah, like I was saying, negative words. You can take a bad word that means something bad, add ly, and it just means very. Now, let's take a look at two more words that are regional. They're only in certain parts of the country, in America, I mean. All the words we've learned so far can be used anywhere, and they're really, really common. There's really. That's the one you should use all the time. Super. Super is really good too, and it's a little more fun sounding. Then you can use truly, honestly, incredibly, ridiculously, insanely, absurdly. Now the next two are regional. And so if you're in different parts of America, you might hear these words. But if you use them in other parts, people might think you're a little bit funny. So in California, they have another word for very. They say hella. Hella is a word for very that pretty much is only used on the West Coast. So mostly in California, maybe in Oregon and Washington. I'm not exactly sure. But definitely a lot in California. Hella. So if you go to California and you hear people say something's hella awesome or hella good, that just means very. So this is my experience. I went to San Francisco and there are lots of food trucks. A food truck is, well, a truck that sells little snacks. And it's almost like a night market. So if I want to talk in California style, I might say, trying lots of food trucks in San Francisco was hella fun. So here, hella just means very. But that's how people speak in California. If you say hella where I come from, in Massachusetts, people might think you're a little bit funny or a little bit weird. But in California, it's totally normal. So some words, it's okay to use them in some places, and then other places it might sound a little bit funny. Okay? Duffy says, is hella a Spanish word? No, I don't think so. Hella is English. It's slang from California. So yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think it's from Spanish. I could be wrong, but pretty sure it's, well, I don't know. Define hella. Informal USA. Let's see. It comes from English. Okay. So on Google, you can just search define and then a word, and it tells you informal US. So it's a slang word from the US, and you can look at the origin. So this comes from English. Two other old words. Helliva and hellacious. Maybe. But anyways, hella is an English word, but it's from California. Okay? Then another regional one is from where I grew up. This area of the U.S. is called New England, where I come from, Massachusetts. And where I come from, we use the word wicked. Wicked means very. Okay? It's wicked awesome. It's wicked cool. It's wicked hot today. I'm wicked tired. And if you say this word in New England, it sounds totally normal. If you say it somewhere else, people might think you're a little bit weird. Or maybe they think, oh, are you from New England? If you say, oh, I'm wicked tired today. So I might say, the aquarium in Boston is wicked awesome. So just like the word very, we can use wicked. And so, yeah, English is fun because different places, different areas have special words. And if you use that word, maybe someone knows where you come from. If I say wicked, someone knows I might be from close to Boston. If you say it's hella awesome, maybe I think you grew up in California or you went to California. If you say, oh, I'm bloody tired, bloody is from England. And so I know you're not from America if you say I'm bloody tired. So there's some interesting words that are regional. They come from a certain part of the country or a certain place that speaks English. So wicked is what you'll hear where I grew up. Like, oh, I'm wicked tired today. That's wicked awesome. That's wicked cool. Okay? So, yeah, today we learned a lot of different words. And so the main idea is that I want you to try to use the word very less often. So very is kind of boring and we don't use it that often. If you want to stick to one word, you should use really, because really is the same as very, but then you can also use it for verbs. I'm really tired. I really like that. I'm really excited. He really wants to go on the roller coaster. Whatever. Okay? And then all these other ones you can use to say very to describe like how awesome something is. Like it's super, that movie's super funny. This is truly amazing. It's honestly beautiful. It's incredibly awesome. It's ridiculously good. It's insanely delicious. It's absurdly hot outside. That was hella fun, and that was wicked cool. Okay? So yeah, try to mix it up. Try to use some interesting words in your daily life. Don't just use very all the time. I don't use very that often. You shouldn't either. Okay? So yeah, hopefully you guys had some fun. Hopefully you learned something new and practice some tricky words, some interesting words, right? I hope so. Okay, so I think we can pretty much wrap up here for today. If you have any questions, please let me know. So, message of the day, use words that are not just the word very. Very is okay, but there are better, more interesting words. And other words will make your English more interesting. And if you use something like really or super, it sounds more natural than saying very all the time. So yeah, let's end here for today. Thank you everyone for joining. Yeah, take care of yourself. Stay safe, stay healthy. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next Thursday. Okay? Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.